Thoughts like lightning in my head, flashing back every last word you said. Wondering if we're gonna be okay. Wide awake, you sound asleep, I'd give anything to know your dreams. Side by side, we're miles away. When did we stop being what we need? Saying things we don't mean, and quit on love enough that we became strangers in this house. Tell me, why did we just let go? Give it up and lose control. Why is love easy and falling and falling out? We both know there's no one else. We got here all by ourselves. We're the only ones to blame. Bit by bit, line by line, it didn't happen overnight. Just like that, it slipped away. When we quit being what we need, saying things that we don't need, quit on love enough that we became strangers in this house. Tell me, why did we just let go? Give it up and lose control. Why is love easier falling in and falling out? Than falling When did we stop being what we need? Saying things we don't mean, and quit on love till we became strangers in this house. Tell me, why did we just let go? Give it up and lose control. Why is love easy and falling in? Why is love easy and falling in and thoughts like lightning in my head, flashing back every last word you said. Wondering if we're gonna be okay. Wide awake, you sound asleep, I'd give anything to know your dreams. Side by side, we're miles away. When did we stop being what we need? Saying things we don't mean, and quit on love enough that we became strangers in this house. Tell me, why did we just let go? Give it up and lose control. Why is love easy?
it going, everybody? Welcome to the Steve Freeman Podcast. It is so good to be with you. It feels like it's been a while, but it hasn't. I mean, we were here last week, right? It is good to be here with you, though. Hope everybody's having a great week so far. Like I put out on social media earlier today, I've got something that's semi-serious that I really want to talk to you guys about tonight. I think you're going to find it interesting. I think you're going to find it rewarding. At least I hope you do. Anyway, that's kind of the whole purpose of this thing, right? Before we get started, I do want to talk about some scheduling things that might be happening. I'm thinking about changing the schedule and moving the live portion of the podcast to Wednesday nights. From Tuesday to Wednesday. It can't be Monday or Thursday because when fall rolls back around, football season will be back in town, and that becomes my priority at that point. But probably, and I'm thinking probably starting next week, that we will do this on Wednesday nights. And here's why. Here's what we're going to be doing. There's some things going on with the podcast that I cannot talk about right now. I hope that I'm able to talk about them in the very near future. But it's going to require me to create more content. So here's what we're going to be doing. I know a lot of you, you watch on Facebook, you watch on YouTube, and you watch on Twitch when we do this live. But the podcast is also available in audio form on Apple Podcast, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, just everywhere else that you can get your audio versions of podcast. Well, due to what we're going to be doing in a few months and what we're working on now, and as soon as I get some things contractually settled, then I'll be able to talk more about it. But bottom line is I've got to create more content. So here's what that means. The way it's going to look now and moving forward is there will be an audio version of the Steve Freeman Podcast on Monday and on Friday. They will come out at noon on Monday, noon on Friday, and then we will move what we're doing right now and calling the podcast. That will be the Steve Freeman Podcast live, and it will be on Wednesday night. So we have content on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then we're going to start uploading new videos in some series that we're doing to the YouTube channel that will also be going to Apple TV, Roku devices, and Amazon Fire Sticks and all that kind of stuff to the network on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So there's a lot of work that's about to be being done, which I'm all for. I'm really excited about putting the content schedule together. So I want to let everybody know that I'll be putting all of that out on social media, of course. And if you're not already following me on social media, it's at the Steve Freeman everywhere. You also want to make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, that you also subscribe to Twitch. And if you're following me across social media, you'll know all of these changes as they happen. And I'll, of course, be updating you on what's going on, what the new schedule is going to look like. And I'm probably going to make that decision in the next couple of days that we might just move the live version of the podcast, which is what we're doing right now, to Wednesday nights. And I hope that that works for everybody else. But some big things are coming. I'm looking forward to being able to share them with you. I do later in the show, I do want to make sure that I get to all of your questions and your comments or anything at all that you guys want to talk about. That's an important part of this show. So don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Leave those comments, questions in the chat section of wherever you're watching tonight, whether it be YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. And I will get to those as we move forward. One of the things that I want, and I'm going to jump right into kind of what I wanted to talk about, because with everything that's been going on with me, and one of the things that you guys know about this podcast is I reveal a lot about myself. We are not all perfect. We can't please everyone. It's impossible to stay at the top of the mountain 100% of the time. And because I've put a lot on my plate lately, and I know you guys do the same thing. This is not a solitary thing, I don't think, to me. I think we inevitably, because most of us here are creatives, so we have a drive and we have a passion to create. We have a passion to get reactions from other people, and we want our creations to get out into the world, and we want people to know about it. And so we have this drive in ourselves. I have what I would probably call an above average drive when it comes to those things, because I've just always felt that. And I know a lot of you feel that as well. That's what that's the whole reason I started all of this to begin with. Was I was messaging back and forth with somebody the other day, and that's one of the things I tell them. And I swear to God, when I say it, it sounds so cliche. But when I say it, I mean it with 110% sincerity and honesty. And I do feel that it is my responsibility that, and I don't want to get too religious on you, because I'm not one of those people that I don't care what you believe. I know what I believe. But in my belief system, I do think that when God blesses you, or whatever you want to call it, whatever's out there that you pray to, or that you see as a higher calling and a higher being than you, for me, it's God. So I feel that when God has blessed me with the success that he's blessed me with, and enabled me to do the things in my life that I've been able to do, and live the life that I'm able to live, that I think it is my responsibility to help other people achieve that same thing. I look around so often, and in the music business, we look at each other, and we tend to look and think of each other as competition with each other. And we don't want to help each other forward, because we're afraid they might get there before we do, or they might have 5% more success than we do. So we don't want to help each other. We say we do. As content creators and creators overall, songwriters, producers, we say we want to help each other. But if we're really truly honest with ourselves, we don't. We want to help them. We're fine with helping other people, as long as our help that we give them doesn't raise them above our level. And until we as a community, as a creative community, songwriters, producers, engineers, artists, YouTubers, Twitch streamers, whatever it is that you do in your creative world, painting, whatever, until we start looking at each other, no matter where you are on the scale, as equals, and start treating each other with a little bit of respect. You know, I see on Twitter, this is not at all what I'm going to talk about tonight, but I'm off on a tangent. You know how I do when I get there. I see on Twitter all the time, people talk about not getting respect. I'm not getting the respect. I'm not getting the views. I'm not getting the likes. I'm not getting the shares. I'm not getting, and I often look at that and I think, how can you expect somebody else to respect you when you don't really respect other people? It's like we expect so much more from other people than we're willing to give others. And that's something that I don't understand. And maybe I'll never understand it. But I see that a lot. But segue into what I really want to talk with you guys about tonight. And talking about our drive and our passion and our commitment to realize the things that we set out to do. You know, we all have goals. We all have aspirations. We all have dreams. We all have a path that we're on to find that success level that, as we define it. I don't know how you define it. I know how I define it. It's taking me 43 years to figure out how I define success, because it has gone through so many different variations and taken on so many different definitions over the years. But as I've matured, I realize exactly how I define that. But, and here's the thing we want to get to tonight. But in the pursuit of defining it, or already knowing the definition and achieving it, we do something to ourselves that just became evidently clear to me today. And as I look around and I see other people doing it, I see myself doing it. I doing it a lot. And this is not what I wanted to do the podcast on tonight, but I like I said, this is something that's personal and it's very real to me. So I wanted to bring it and lay it at you guys' feet and see if you absorb it the same way that I did today. Yesterday, it's funny how things work. There again, I call this God. It may be something else for you. But I just had a feeling that I was supposed to do something. And so I texted a good friend of mine, Billy Falcon. And I just said, hey, we see each other all the time. We're friends, we're golfing buddies, and we see each other at Starbucks every single day. And we get together and we'll do something, and it'll go, 2 or 3 months, and we won't see each other except at Starbucks. And last couple of weeks I've been flying in and out of town, and I ran into Billy a couple weeks ago, and we exchanged the obligatory, hey, text me, let's get together, let's go play golf, let's go grab some coffee, whatever. Well, we've done that for years. And yesterday I just had this overwhelming thing. I felt like it was a God thing saying, hey, text Billy and ask him if he wants to go to coffee. And Billy is somebody, just on a side note, I am going to have him on the podcast. Actually, I'm going to film a thing for the YouTube channel called One-on-One, where I sit down with people like Billy. And it's going to be amazing. But Billy and I wrote for the same publishing company about 7-8 years ago. We never met during that period. The entire time that we wrote for the same publishing company, we never met each other. Never wrote together, never met each other. Years later, we ended up meeting each other, realizing we wrote for the same publishing company. But Billy has always been, for me, in my mind, sort of a mentor. He is somebody that I've looked up to my entire career. I mean, the guy's written, I don't know, it's somewhere between 50 and 60 songs with or for Bon Jovi. Many of them have been hits. He's working on the new Bon Jovi record right now. We talked about that today. And he's just and he has gone through a personal transition himself the last few years. And I would call it a spiritual awakening and an anointment that he realized where he was in his life, and he was missing something. There was a hole he was trying to fill. And he found that through God and through his spiritual search. And I'm not saying that's for you, but what I want to say is I had this feeling that I was supposed to text Billy yesterday. And so I did. I texted him. He responded right back, how's tomorrow at 11? And I said, great, I'll be there. So we met up for coffee today. And I always just get this, and I told him, this is the first thing I told him. I said, we could have gone to play golf. We could have gone to do, we could have got together, written a song. But I just, here lately, since he's gone through this transformation, I got to be honest with you, I use him sometimes because I need that feeling of being refilled myself, because the words that come out of his mouth to me are inspirational. And we all need that from time to time. And I needed it. So we met today and we were talking and we were talking about what's going on with him working on the new Bon Jovi record and basically producing the thing and writing most of the songs with them. And we were talking and he said, well, what's going on with you? And I said, well, honestly, I don't know. I said, I've put so much on my plate that it's almost like I'm losing my identity in all of these different things that I'm getting involved with. And he just kind of smiled and he goes, do you feel lost? And I said, yeah, that's actually a good way to put it is that I do kind of feel lost in a sea of all these things I've created. And he said something to me that just really hit home. And I thought, you know what? I want to share this with you guys, because I don't know if you've ever thought about it this way. And all day long, I've been really quiet around the house because I've been thinking and prioritizing things that he said that I want to apply in my personal and professional life, because I'm looking at things totally different after this coffee meeting this morning. And he said this. Well, first of all, he goes, describe to me how you feel. And I said, well, to be honest, Billy, I said, I feel like I go hop on a crane and put this huge boulder up in the air, suspended from this crane, and then I hop down off the crane, and I go and I live underneath that boulder. And he started laughing, and he said, I've been there. I know exactly what you're talking about and what that feels like. And then he got into talking about something. It was a very almost simple statement that he made, but it was so powerful to me. And that was, he said, we've got to be very careful about achieving the things that we want to achieve and the dreams that we have and the aspirations and the success and all of that. We've got to be very careful because it's very easy for us to enslave ourselves to the process. And that to me was one of the most profound things that anybody has ever said to me. And then he went on and he explained what he said. And I can't say exactly what he said, but as I was absorbing it and taking it into myself, I was thinking about this, and he is so right. I started thinking about the things that I want to accomplish and the things that I want to do. I think I'm allowing them to enslave me. It's okay to be passionate. It's okay to be driven. But at what point do you allow that process and that journey to completely overtake you, where it becomes your identity and you lose yourself in the process and you enslave yourself to accomplishing whatever it is that you think that you're going to accomplish? And that's what Billy said to me. He goes, what kind of life is that? What kind of life is it that even if these amazing things are happening and you're achieving and you're realizing all this success and you're doing all these things, but in order to keep it there, you have enslaved yourself in the process? And then you start to, I say myself, I started looking around and I'm going, wow, in different areas of my life, certain goals that I want to achieve, I have allowed to enslave me. I am powerless to them because I hold those up over my head, and I grind so hard to make them come true that I'm not living the life. I'm not living the life that I've been blessed to have, because we constantly want to achieve more and do more, and we let that journey somehow grab us, and basically it becomes our boss. That's another thing that he said. He said it's the journey and the goal can become your boss really quickly. And you do things that you wouldn't do, and you say things that you wouldn't say, and you become a person that you wouldn't normally become to achieve that goal, which means that goal is now your boss. And I don't know for you if it is for me, but I haven't had a boss in 20-something years, and I don't want one now. But what I've realized is I have put all of these things out there and allowed them to change me and have control over my thoughts, my emotions, my mental health, mental well-being. I've allowed them and given them a position of power because you want to achieve them so badly that you basically allow them to dictate your every movement, which winds up turning into a scenario where you are not being you. And the one thing that I've always known throughout my entire journey, whether it's personal or professional, the music business in particular, is that being authentic is always the best thing. If you don't offer something different or something new, there's nothing special about you. And I think sometimes what we do when we allow these things to enslave us, and just think about that statement alone. It was. I don't know if it's as powerful to you as it was to me, but it was extremely powerful because I start looking around and I'm like, oh my God, I have allowed my career to enslave me because I bow down to it. I worship it. I do all the wrong things. I allow it to control and dictate my every move in the pursuit of the continued success. And I don't think it matters where you are on the spectrum. If you're just starting out, or if you're somewhere in the middle, or you're like me, you've been doing this for 25 years, how enslaved have you allowed yourself to be? Are you living, or have you, see, and what I thought about later, I left, I was supposed to totally go do something else when I left, and my mind was so on what he had said to me that I just headed straight back home. I didn't even go do what I was supposed to go do, because I just kept thinking that how horrible is it to sit and think that you've tricked or possibly lied to yourself to say that you're in control of all this. You're in control of the journey. You're driving the car, but you get up every day and you put these burdens on yourself to make what it is that you're trying to do happen. Of course, one of the things we've always talked about, I've said, and I'll never waver, the 3 keys to success in anything, music business, anything, is persistence, consistency, and a willingness to sacrifice. So I know that in our journey, we are going to have to be consistent, we are going to have to be persistent, and we are going to have to sacrifice. But I think that we need to, each one of us, define for ourselves where that line is between giving something up and sacrificing, and allowing that thing that we're trying to accomplish to enslave us. And this is something that I'm going to do some very hard thinking. I was on my way back, and I was thinking about things in my own life, and I'm thinking, in this situation over here, I am totally allowing that situation to enslave me, because I'm allowing it to dictate the time that I spend, when I spend the time doing it, how long I have to do it, and I'm allowing that to dictate my daily life. And then you start looking around, it's like, oh my God, I'm doing that, and I'll be real honest with you. Everybody knows how much I love my cars. But it hit me, and it may have been another God thing, but I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, you know what? Why do you have that car? You don't ever drive it. It's enslaving you. Because you do and do and do and do and do to keep up this certain lifestyle that's not living. It's to show or make other people think that you're living. But are you really living? Because is it really living to worry about making sure you do this and that and this, and you post enough and you do enough of this and you produce enough records to pay for all of it? How much of your life are you enslaved to? I don't want to take away from anybody having hopes, dreams, passions. We all have to have them. We're creatives, and so we're naturally born with them. It is inherent to who we are. It is in our DNA. But I think for each one of us, we have got to seriously and honestly sit down. And I know I'm going to. You don't have to. I'm going to. I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to look around at the various things in my life and in my business, and I'm going to say, are these things helping me live my life? Or am I living my life for these things? Have they enslaved me to a point to where they control me and control the outcome and control everything that I do? Am I being micromanaged by the life that I've created? And I can be honest enough with myself to look around and go, yes, I absolutely have. I have allowed that to happen. I've always said it. I don't want a boss. The reason I've done the way that I've done my publishing over the last 5 years is simply and strictly and only because I said I would never sign with another publishing company as long as I lived. Been there, done that. Why? Because I didn't want them to have the control over the songs. I didn't want them to have the control over the direction. I didn't want them to have any kind of control whatsoever, because I know how to do it better, and I don't need somebody that's never written a hit song in their life tell me how to write one. So if I don't want to have to do that and I don't have to deal with that, then I'm not going to ever sign another publishing deal ever again. Because I don't want that person to have that kind of control. But yet, we go out, I would say we, I don't have to include you, I will go out and do things and allow those things to take that kind of place and that kind of a position in my life to where it is controlling every step that you take. And like I said, it was so profound to me, and Billy started giving, examples in areas of his life where he's like, this, I was letting it control me. I was enslaved to it. I thought I was living. I wasn't. I was living to make it happen and living to keep up with it. So one of the main thing that I wanted to talk with you guys about tonight was, especially since we're all creatives, I know that there are things that you guys want to accomplish. I know that because you tweet me, you email me, you send me DMs, you ask me questions, and I can tell, I hear from you. I see posts that you guys make that you don't know that I see, or tweets. And I know that you guys have goals. I know that you have dreams. I know that you have passions. But I also know that it is possible for you to realize all of those things without being enslaved to them. Maybe sometimes it's okay to slow down. Because we want to create a life that's actually worth living, right? I mean, isn't that the goal? And after having the meeting with Billy today, I could seriously look around and think of many different areas in my life where I thought, what I'm doing is not worth it because I'm not free. I'm not free from that situation. And Billy gave an example of, I'm not going to name names, but basically, if you're ever put into a situation where somebody is doing you wrong and you can't stand up to them and go, do not talk to me that way. You are not my God. You are not my boss. I don't have to be here. I don't need to be here. Do not talk to me that way. If you can't look at the situations that you're involved with in your journey to realize the goal and dream that you've put out there, then you are enslaved to it. You're enslaved to the journey. If you can't be that person, if you can't speak your mind, if you can't write the kind of music that you want to write, then you're not living a creative life. You're living your life to please somebody else, which means they have enslaved you in your own process. I see it all the time, especially on YouTube. People worry about the algorithm, worried about how many views they're going to get and what kind of videos should I make, and should I do this or should I keep doing one thing that I've noticed is that most people start YouTube because they have a passion for creating. They want to create something. Well, they allow that passion and YouTube becomes the God and you become the slave. Because now you're worried all the time about, am I making the right video? Am I making the right content? Am I uploading enough? How many times a week should I be doing it? And then you create it and make it a job. And I've said before, I'm just as guilty of that as anybody else. It's hard for me to have a passion because I always see the business possibility of it. So I turn every passion I've got into a business, which then in turn enslaves me because now I'm accountable to it. It's not something I can just enjoy. It becomes something that I'm accountable to. My time is accountable. How am I spending my time? Am I spending enough time adequately to make this result happen that I want to have happen? I'm no longer in control. And I see that on YouTube all the time. And I think to myself, wow, today, especially after, Billy dropped this truth bomb on me, that these people are enslaved to the creation they've created. And I think all of us come from a good place. I think all of us come from a good place in our heart that we start out with this as a passion. And we sell a lot of that passion to get further down the road. I was telling somebody the other day, they were to ask me about a song, and I was like, was I going to write this or write that? And the words just flew out of my mouth. I don't care if I ever write another song. After I said it, I immediately thought to myself, why did I say that? And then it becomes troubling because then I start asking myself, why did you said that? Because it's true. It's almost one of those Freudian slips. You said it because you believe it. But why do you believe that? Why would you ever say, I don't care if I ever write another song as long as I live? Well, today, driving home after my meeting with Billy, our coffee meeting, which neither one of us drank coffee, neither one of us drank anything, I realized it is because I have let every song I have not written yet enslave me. I have let it take such a position of power that it allows me, when I don't live up to its expectation, I have allowed it to get me depressed. I have allowed it to let me and give me a very jaded look on a business that I've loved for years. It has allowed me to burn bridges, burn relationships. And ultimately, it has enslaved me to the point where it got me to the point where if I don't think I can meet your expectation, I just don't care if I ever do it again. And when we as creatives reach a point, I think, when we reach a point that we can honestly say, I don't care if I create anymore, and you realize that you're doing it to supplement the life that you've created, or it becomes all about the business, or it becomes all about that, and you've lost all creativity, you've lost passion for it, then you have become enslaved to the thing that you created. And that's no place to be. That's not living life. And don't you want to live life? And I feel bad because my wife tells me this all the time. You know, you've all heard the saying, you know, stop and smell the roses. My wife tells me all the time, you don't live your life. You're not living it. You're preparing for the next thing that's coming, but you're not ever just in the moment and living life. And she's told me that for years. And I can hear that, and I can go, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm thinking about the next song or the next record I'm going to produce or the next film I'm going to do music for. And thinking that it's like another notch on the belt, as that you're just cranking up to get to the next level. But today I've never heard it put in those terms. And because who wants to be a slave to anything? You don't, because it is the absolute opposite of being free, and being free to make creative decisions, free to make creative choices, free to love what it is that you do. Because the minute all of these things enslave us, we don't love them anymore. Matter of fact, I can look back in the last 5 years of my career. You almost start to resent that thing that you've put out there as the goal. And when you start resenting the goal, you're in a sad place. I don't think this is a permanent thing. I know these are words that I needed to hear today, because I struggle with them all the time. I keep finding things to enslave me. I keep creating situations that I allow to enslave me. Oh, if we don't do this, we're going to lose this client. Oh, if I don't do this enough, or if I don't text this person enough, or if I don't pick up the phone, if I don't talk this long to this person, they're going to get upset. If I don't write this kind of song, then this artist isn't going to like it. And then you realize you are living this amazing life you've created for everybody else but yourself. And they are controlling you. And I think it can be anything, guys. It can be financial. It can be money. It can be cars. It can be computers. It can be editing stuff. It can be cameras. It can be any of these things. It's almost like going and taking out a credit card. It's like everybody loves to have all the new stuff you buy and all of that, but then it's like that enjoyment that it kind of fades, because once you've got it, you played with it a little bit, then it's over, and now you've got the damn payment. Now you got to make the payment. How many of us are doing that with our lives? Seriously. How many of us have been living our life on a credit card, and little by little we find a little bit of enjoyment out of this or a little bit of enjoyment out of that? Billy said today it's like a spoonful of sugar. It lasts for just a little bit, and then it goes away, and it leaves you down. It leaves you depressed. But we keep creating those little things, and we keep taking those little spoonfuls of sugar, because at the moment, at the time, they make us feel so good. They make us feel like everything we're working for is amazing. But that downhill slide is coming. That crash is coming. And living your life, like I said, in the balance of a credit card, where all these little things are amazing as they're happening and as they're going, and you don't feel like you're enslaved to anything until it's over, and then you've got to find something to replace it with, and then you realize how much power you've let all these things take over you. Because then the payments due. And that short moment of having that new thing in your hand is not at all worth the 48 months worth of payments that come after. I see it in my own life. And I encourage you guys, and I got to be honest with you, I've not ever made any bones about it. I battle depression. I can honestly say that I don't think I have ever met a true creative person that doesn't. Because people aren't praising us all the time. And as creative people, we feel like we are a creation. We step out of bed every day as a creation. So it's like, please tell me I did something great. And when we don't get that constantly, like an IV in our arm, then we kind of we go down a little bit. And I was totally 100% expecting to walk away from this meeting with Billy today and almost be a little depressed, but I wasn't. I was excited, because I started looking around and I started thinking about things in my life that I have allowed to enslave me. They are literally not allowing me to enjoy and live the amazing life that I have. Now, I want to be 100% transparent and 100% honest with you. I don't know how to fix it. I've been thinking since 1 o'clock today, after a 2-hour meeting, I've been thinking on how I can fix it. And what is that balance? What is the balance between having things that you want to accomplish and certain goals, and then not allowing yourself to become enslaved with it? That's a high wire balancing act that I think is unique to each individual, and we've got to figure that out for ourselves. I know I've got to figure that out with me. And Billy said something else today. He goes, we do a lot in our life to please other people and to be accepted by other people. And that road to understanding what the things are that you've allowed to enslave you, and then reversing that. He said the first step in realizing that and fixing it is realizing that people don't care near as much as you think they do. We spend a lot of our time wanting this song to do this, or wanting this video to get this many views, or get this many likes on Instagram, or this many shares, this many follows, because we think it means something to somebody else that then therefore is going to elevate us. And that's what Billy said today. Nobody cares. And the ones that do care a hell of a lot less than we give them credit for. They care a lot. They care so much less that it's amazing when you look at the comparison between how much power we give those people over ourselves, over our decisions, over our creations, over our lives, when they don't really care at all. And they don't. Nobody cares. People that care leave positive comments. They do positive things. when I look out over, in social media is a great example. When I look out over social media, 8 out of every 10 engagements I see is somebody being negative. Those aren't people that care. And those are certainly people that you don't want to enslave yourself to. And I know for a fact, I've talked to a lot of people, YouTubers, that take this a hell of a lot more serious than I do. I mean, they will make another video based on the negative comments to try to change those people's minds. And I know the amount of time that it takes to put into creating anything, whether it's producing a record, whether it's writing a song, or whether it's making a YouTube video. I know the process. I know the creative process. I know what it takes to do all of that. And there are a lot of people that do it a lot better than I do when it comes to YouTube. But to think that those people allow the negative naysayers to enslave them to the point where they then go take all of the time that it takes to be that creative, to make a video, to upload it, to edit it, to do everything you got to do, so that those people hopefully take somebody that made a negative comment and change their mind and hope they leave a positive comment. Here's the thing I know after 42 years of dealing with people, that even if you do that, and even if you make that video, and even if you change their mind, the last thing in the world that person's going to do is leave a positive comment on the new video. They'll just stay silent. That's the way people are. We give people way too much power and way too much credit over dictating how we're living our lives. This may be a little too heavy for some of you. I don't normally like to get this heavy on the podcast, but guys, this was a huge revelation to me, because I have been wondering and I've been questioning and looking around and going, I have an amazing life. I have a life that 9 out of 10 people would kill to have. I have been blessed. My children are healthy. I have a great wife. I have an amazing house. I travel all over the world. I've written hit songs, produced platinum records, have a ton of cars. Why am I not happy? And that's whenever you really, today, meeting Billy and him saying, you're not happy because you have allowed most of these things to enslave you in the process. Because you've got to keep it going. It's another payment you got to make. And by payment, I mean emotionally, physically, mentally. I can, like I said, I can look at my life and I can go, I have allowed this to enslave me. I have allowed my business to enslave me for a long time. And I think that's why I have not enjoyed the process as much. I do it for, I've made no bones about this. I did make this comment to somebody. Somebody said something about passion and blah, blah, blah. I said, I don't do this for passion anymore. I don't do this because I love music. I don't do this because I like writing songs. I don't do this because I like producing records, because I like to get to know people and I like to work with artists. It's not. I do that because it's what I do, not because I have any passion for it. It is a job. It has become a job, and I have allowed that job to enslave me. But that's going to change. And then it drew me back to the comment that I made to that person the other day, and I said, I don't care if I ever write another song as long as I live. Knowing full well that little bit of passion that is still down there somewhere heard me say that comment and was like, what the are you talking about? This is who we are. All of this other out here that you've allowed yourself to be beholden to and enslaved to, that is not who we are. That's what we've created. We built it up. Like I said, it's the boulder on the crane that we choose to hop off of the crane and go down and live under the boulder that we've suspended above ourselves. That's that. So I know moving forward, And I'm excited now that it happened today for a reason. Like I said, I texted Billy yesterday and I said, you want to go to coffee? I didn't know why, but I did. It was a God thing to me. And because I feel like for me, it's allowed me to question and really at the end of the day, realize that it's time for me to take the reins back. It's time for me to not be enslaved by the journey, by the goals, by the dreams, by the success. I see all these other people out here talking about hustle, 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 do. And I got to say, even today, leaving, even some people that I respect, that I admire and I respect their grind, I respect their hustle and what they do, but now I'm looking at it through a completely different lens and I'm thinking, you are enslaved to what you've created. You can't not post 10 times all this motivational shit on Instagram today. You can't do it because you're enslaved to it, because if you don't, you'll lose 1,000 followers because that's what they're there for. So now you're not doing it because you love it or do it because you want to. You're doing it because you believe you have to. And I think for each one of us, there is, like I said, that fine line. We have to be persistent. We have to be consistent. We have to be willing to sacrifice. But I don't think in that last thing, I don't think that being willing to sacrifice means that we are willing to sacrifice our well-being, who we are as individuals, who we are as creatives, and allow that to take over and take control. We have got to take control. And I was thinking about a lot of you guys that I've had interactions with that have emailed me. And I know so badly that so many of you have dreams and aspirations and goals that you want to meet. And I more than ever will continue to preach persistence, consistency, and a willingness to sacrifice. But I encourage all of you this week, sit down and see if you are walking the dog or is the dog walking you. Have you allowed your pursuit in whatever it is that you're endeavoring? You're Twitch streaming, you're trying to build your business, you're trying to become a songwriter, you want to become a producer, you want to grow your numbers on YouTube. Sit back for 2 seconds and think, have I given that thing, whatever it is, so much power over me that I'm not living my life the way that I want to live it? Has accomplishing this insurmountable goal or goals that most of us set out there in front of us, because that's what we do. We place very high expectations on ourselves. The funny thing about that is on the flip side of that coin, not only do we place almost impossible expectations on ourselves, we judge ourselves based on where we are in the process of meeting those expectations. But we set goals that are impossible because we're told to think big. We're told to dream big. And I do. I dream big and I think big. I don't know how to think on a small level. I think big. But I will tell you this. After today, my thought process is going to be a little bit different. When I think about my career, when I think about my life, when I think about anything new that might work its way into my circle, into my ether, into my atmosphere, before I make that first step that I normally take without thinking at all, before I take that step or make any kind of commitment, I'm going to ask myself one question. Is this going to better the life I'm trying to live right now? Or am I going to have to give up another piece of me to make it happen? Because the minute I give that piece of me away, I'm not in charge anymore. And it has enslaved me and trapped me into making it come true. That's going to be my thought process from now on. Instead, it's look before you leap. But don't just look. Think about how it's going to impact you right now. And I'm going to start, my thought process is going to be a little bit different, is not will this help me achieve my overall goal, but will this help me live the life that I want to live right now? Because Lord knows I don't need another race to run. I don't need another goal to meet. I don't need another mountain to climb. I've got enough when I get up every day and look at the mountains I've surrounded myself with and realize that I put them there. I willingly put them there, but I don't feel like climbing anymore. So I know for me, I've got to get into a state of mind where I want to get up every day and climb again. And the only way to do that is to take the power back and not be enslaved with these creations that I've erected on my own. I've got to take that power back. And I encourage all of you guys, if what I've talked about tonight means anything to you whatsoever, if it kind of just speaks to you the way that it spoke to me today when Billy was talking to me, it's hard. I'll be real honest with you. It's not easy. It's not easy to retrospectively look at yourself, to look in the mirror and think, oh my God, I'm the one driving the ship. Where did I go wrong? Because we don't like to think of ourselves as making wrong decisions. We like to think that we do the best that we can, but a lot of times we're not. And we are creating these things that enslave us. So no matter how much you love something, no matter how much you want it, no matter how much you're driven to achieve it, do yourself a favor. While you're looking before you leap, ask yourself that question. If I leap, am I going to be able to live the life I want to live right now? Not the one you're trying to accomplish and live 5 years from now, 10 years from now. The one that you have to wake up in tomorrow. And if it's going to cost more than it's worth today, maybe the answer is no. Maybe you don't take that on. Because it might just end up, like we talked about, being one of those credit card payments. That it's real great, it's great at the moment, but then that payment's going to come every month. Just something to think about, guys. It was pretty profound for me today, and I wanted to share that with all of you. Because it certainly has me thinking differently. It has me thinking differently about the things that I've allowed to have too much influence. And those of us that are creative, look, there's a reason why those of us that I'll use the music business, I do it for a living because I don't want a boss. I don't want to go work for somebody else. I can't work for somebody else. I'm too much of an asshole to be around people. So I couldn't wait tables. I couldn't do retail because it would last 10 minutes. I see it out in the world. I couldn't do it. But those of us that are creatives, we want to chart our own course. We want to plot our own path. We just got to make sure that we're not the ones also putting the roadblocks in the way. And I can look around my life and say, I've thrown up some pretty good mountains, but I've also thrown up some really, really, really good molehills in the way. And the old saying's true. Sometimes we make it difficult on ourselves to see the forest for the trees. So if you're so inclined, look at what it is you're trying to accomplish. Look at what it is you're passionate about. And let me also say this, because I think this is very important. Just because you take an honest look at where you are doesn't mean you have to be any less passionate or that you have to love anything less. It is possible to continue to pursue those things, to be passionate about those things, and to love those things without giving them the control over you. There is a fine line there, and everybody has to find that line for themselves. If I'm being real honest, I don't know where that line is for me yet. I'm going to figure it out. But there is a line there. I'm not saying you don't have to keep doing what you're doing, that you don't have to hustle and you don't have to grind and you don't have to do all that. Of course you do. But maybe we don't have to do it to the point to where we give that thing so much power over ourselves that we become enslaved by it. Because again, that, friends, ain't living. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. That's what I wanted to talk with you guys about tonight. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, or you want to talk about something, you can pop it in the chat, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, everywhere. I've got it all popped up. I can see everybody in here leaving your comments. Now we're kind of at the end of the show. I do want to take some of your questions, some of your comments. So pop them in there if you got them. Exposing Thoughts says, tell me what you think of Hawk Publishing. Honestly, I don't know anything about Hawk Publishing. I will look into it this week and give you an answer. Maybe next week, or I may post something about it on social media. Who knows? I don't know anything about them. If you're still in here and you want to tell me who they are, maybe give me a reference, and I might know a little bit more than I know right now. But I can promise you I'll look into it. Ismail says, good night, man. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Mike says, thanks, bro, for the info on Ditto. It's time for me to renew my DistroKid, and I'm staying with DistroKid. Thanks again. Absolutely, man. I'm glad you caught the video. Glad that you were able to make a very wise decision and did not go with Ditto. That probably would have been a mistake. You'll be fine. You'll be happy. Since I did the series on digital distributors, I've had so many people tell me, I said something good about one there. Well, I've had a horror story. Look, none of them are perfect. None of them, not one of them. Ditto's got problems. DistroKid has problems. TuneCore has problems. CD Baby has problems. They all have problems. Not everything is always going to be perfect, and there's not one single one distributor out there that's like you're not ever going to have an issue no matter what, ever. Even major label projects, and when I use my major distribution deal, we've had issues before. Nothing like what we went through with Ditto. I will say that. Nothing like that. But nothing's perfect. I will say with DistroKid, I still have a couple projects that I'm involved with that are distributed by DistroKid, and we've not had any issues. So I hope that you have the same experience that we had. James says, God, family, and the puzzle. Boy, that's the truth. That is about the order. I can't wait, to be honest with you, to sit down and film this one-on-one with Billy. This spiritual transition that he has gone through over the last few years is just amazing to see from an outsider's point of view of knowing him before and knowing him after, and watching the things that, as he's changed his life accordingly, that have just gravitated to him. It's amazing. His new record, if you are a fan of great music, very well written music, great production, and you want to feel positive, and you want to get some inspiration, Billy kind of quasi calls it a Christian record. I don't know that I'd call it a Christian record. It's very faith-based. We'll put it that way. I don't believe in religion. I believe in God. I don't believe in religion. That's another podcast. But Billy and I believe the same thing. He has a record called Holy Fire. It's his last record. You've got to go listen to this record. I think, somebody check and tell me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I think it's available on Spotify and Apple Music and iTunes. I'm almost positive, but it's called Holy Fire. Do yourself a favor, especially if you're a fan of Bon Jovi, because he's written all those hits for Bon Jovi. And when he came to write this record, I mean, it's him writing these songs for himself. And if you like that kind of music, if you just want something to really uplift you, I cannot recommend it enough. Go get it if it's available over there. He gave me copies, so I mean, I've got actual physical hard discs, so I've never looked to see if it's available on iTunes or Spotify. But it's Billy Falcon, Holy Fire. Do yourself a favor and listen to that record. It will inspire you. It will motivate you. And it's just really, really good songs. really, really good songs. I can't wait to hear this new. He was telling me about the new Bon Jovi record today. I can't wait. Of course, I'm a huge Bon Jovi fan as well, but the songs he's writing for this new record with John are just, from what I understand, he's telling me about, is just amazing. So can't wait for that to come out either. But go check that out. Mike W says, prioritizing what is truly important and simplifying your life helps you to regain focus and control over the process and enjoy the journey. The end goal, once achieved, becomes even sweeter. That is absolutely true, Mike. I got to be honest with you, I don't really know, because every time I think I get to the top, I create another level for myself. So that, but you're absolutely right. And part of this is exactly what I'm going to try to do. I think I'm going to try to put a cap on the mountain for a little while. Remade says truth bombs. Thanks for the sub, Mike. I really appreciate it, man. Let's see. Best Decoy says, I use Amuse. Somebody has asked me to do a review of Amuse, and I probably am going to do that. I swear to God I was going to get off of I wasn't going to do any more in the digital distribution series. But my God, you guys keep emailing me and contacting me and asking me to do them, so we probably will do them. But I can do that, and I can definitely check them out as well. I am working on a 4-part series some of you might find helpful. It's called The Art of Songwriting. And I am breaking the art of songwriting down into 4 different areas. And we're going to talk about the craft of songwriting. We're going to talk about the tools of songwriting. We're going to talk about the process, and we're going to talk about the cut. So I'm hoping, I've kind of started filming a little bit of it. I'm probably going to try to finish the rest of it up this week, and then probably put out this 4-part series, 1 a week for the next 4 weeks. And what I hope to do, because that is by far, that is probably one of the number one things that people ask me about the most is songwriting. How, structure. We're in this video series, I'm going to go really deep into structure and how to properly structure a song. But the very first video is going to be on the craft, because I believe that anybody can write a song, but I believe only there is a talent that is being a songwriter. Anybody can write a song. Not everybody can be a songwriter. I believe it is a craft. It is a talent. I believe it's something you have. It is not something that can be taught. It is not something that comes easily. Anytime you hear people talk about a craft, it's something that they have spent years honing, that they have a talent for, but they've spent years honing that craft. And that, to me, is exactly what, to me, songwriting is. So, 4-part series, The Art of Songwriting. After that is going to be a series, and I don't know how many parts it's going to be, but it's called The Art of Production. And we're going to talk about producing records. How have I produced these multi-platinum records? What equipment do I use? What's my process? How do I work with artists? How do I work with other songwriters in the process of producing a record? How do I work and deal with the record label or the publishers? We're going to get into all of that. So it's going to be a busy summer. My team has been encouraged. They want me to create these series. They don't want me to do so many just one-off videos. They want me to make these series. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're working on another one right now that we've been working on a while, but it's going to be, and I'm going to get hate for this one. It's going to be an online course that you have to buy. But it is the art of artist development. And that is going to basically be an amazing resource for you independent artists. Where we create a marketing plan, we create a strategy, we create 6, 9, 12, 18-month, 2-year, 3-year plans on how to launch your career and what you should be doing every step along the way. It's going to come with constant resources, like where you can contact me or a member of my team to ask questions, and where we help you along the way. That's a different thing. That's probably going to roll out sometime around Christmas. Perfect timing. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. So I'm working on that. And then, like I said, there's some things we're going to be able to talk about soon when we can get contractually things worked out that's going to be going on here with the podcast as well. Let me see. Anybody else have any more questions? I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Mike Rex says, I'm a bot. Cheer me up and come say hi. Mike, it must be streaming live on Twitch right now. Shane Stevens says, keep trucking, buddy. I appreciate all your help and wisdom. Shane, Shane is an artist that well, number one, we just got done with his record. I produced his record. It is out right now, the Shane Stevens Band. You can find it everywhere music is sold or streamed. And Shane is also signed to our artist development company. So you can bet your ass you're going to be hearing a lot about the Shane Stevens Band coming up. And I appreciate that, Shane. I really do. Shane's one of the nicest, I swear to God, one of the nicest people I've ever met, him and his wife, Lori. They are committed to doing things the right way. They have the right expectation level. See, and it's one of the things, when artists come to me, I always look for anybody that I'm going to work with anymore. You have to have it all. You have to have the right set of expectations. You have to have the talent. You have to have something in your songs, in your craft, in your songwriting that makes me want to work with you. And Shane's got them all. And that's very rare. Most people have one piece or two pieces. Shane's got it all. And it just makes it a pleasure working with him. Another act that's signed to our artist development company, Gilded, their brand new EP that I produced is out today. It's also available everywhere you buy or stream music. It's Gilded Part 2. I also wrote the first track on the album with the girls, Emmy and Adele Harvey, and my buddy Adam Siren. You definitely want to check that out, especially and it's not country. I get asked all the time, do you do anything but country? I swear to God, I haven't done much country in the last 2 years. Most of it's been pop. I'd say Shane's stuff is country-ish. It's got country flavors, but it's more Southern rock. So if you're a Southern rock, Marshall Tucker Band, modern Marshall Tucker Band kind of fan, you'll love Shane Stevens. If you like pop music, you're going to love Gilded, for sure. And then I've also got some other projects that are going to be coming out soon. I'll be telling you about also some film stuff coming up as well. So let's see. Anybody else got any other questions? Did you know that the pigeon died? I have no idea what that means. None whatsoever. Was that something that happened on Game of Thrones or something? I mean, I don't know. By the way, everybody was so upset about how Game of Thrones ended the other night. I was not upset. I mean, I don't want to give away any spoilers, and maybe some people haven't seen it yet, but I was wanting one thing to come to a conclusion in a much different fashion than the way that it happened. But other than that, I mean, there are people pissed. I mean, you get on Twitter and there are people like wanting to take over the set with pitchforks. They're just not happy at all. But guys, if that's it, I think we will go ahead and start wrapping things up. I cannot thank you guys enough for being here with us tonight for the Steve Freeman Podcast. Don't forget, on social media, it's at the Steve Freeman everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, everywhere. And you guys can always reach me. There are links down in the descriptions below. You can always email me. You can also visit thestevefreeman.com if you want to work with me. If you want to do a one-on-one session, want me to produce your record, all the information, it's all right there, thestevefreeman.com. As always, guys, you have been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to being with you again next week. And as always, keep being creative. Keep pressing the boundaries. And there's nothing wrong with being independent. See you guys next week.